Hey everyone, ready to dive into a topic that might just change your whole approach to fitness?
I'm excited to get into this one.
Yeah, this is a good one. We've got some really insightful articles
Yeah.
all about consistency
Yeah,
and how it's like the unsung hero of actually reaching your fitness goals.
that's right.
So we're going to break it all down for you.
Absolutely.
Why it matters, how to make it work, even if you haven't always been the most consistent person in the past.
It's funny because we always hear about these like crazy intense workouts and the quick fixes.
Right.
But what these articles really drive home is that while those things definitely have a place, it's that consistent effort
Yeah,
that really builds a foundation.
like a house.
Exactly. It's like you're laying brick by brick, day after day.
Okay, so why is that so much more effective than just like hitting the gym super hard once in a while when you feel like it?
Well, let's think about it from like a muscle building perspective.
Okay.
When you lift weights, you create these tiny little tears in your muscles.
Right.
And those tears, they actually trigger the release of these things called growth factors.
Right.
Things like IGF-1, which basically tell your body, hey, we got to build back stronger here.
Oh, so it's like sending a signal.
Exactly.
Oh.
And when you're consistent, you're sending that signal over and over again,
Got it.
which leads to that nice, steady muscle growth.
So it's like constantly reminding your body to adapt, to get stronger.
Yeah.
I get how that applies to like weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
But what about cardio? Does it work the same way?
Absolutely. Take runners, for instance. Consistent training, it doesn't just strengthen their heart and lungs.
Right.
It actually helps their body become more efficient at using oxygen,
Really?
which is pretty cool. And that happens gradually over time through that consistent stress and adaptation cycle.
That was interesting.
And one thing that really stood out to me in these articles was the idea of hitting the gym like 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah, I saw that.
There
too.
seems to be like a sweet spot there.
Yeah. And at first I thought, well, that's just about like building the habit, right?
Right.
But it sounds like there's actually a physiological reason for that kind of frequency.
Yeah, there is. Some research suggests that those 5 to 6 workouts a week, that might be the optimal number for letting your body replenish those muscle building hormones
Oh, wow.
after those more intense sessions.
Mhm.
So it's not just about routine, it's really about recovery.
Okay, so we've all heard about the importance of habit,
Yes.
like the cue, behavior, reward loop and all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that play into the consistency piece as well?
It's central. Think of it this way. Your cue could be seeing your workout clothes all laid out.
Okay.
The behavior is obviously, the workout itself.
Yeah.
And the reward, that amazing feeling you get after, that endorphin rush.
Yes, the runner's high.
Exactly. And the more consistently you complete that loop,
Yeah.
the more automatic it all becomes.
It's like brushing your teeth.
Exactly.
You just do it.
You just do it.
But what about those days when you're just like, ugh, life,
Yeah.
work deadlines,
Yeah.
family stuff going on,
Absolutely.
even just like feeling, blah. Does that break the whole chain if you miss a workout?
Actually, no. One study we looked at showed that if you miss a single day of a new habit,
Mhm.
it doesn't actually have a big impact on your long-term success.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So if you miss a workout, don't beat yourself up.
Okay.
Just get back on track as soon as you can.
So it's the long game.
It's the long game, not perfection.
That is really reassuring.
Yeah,
It kind of takes the pressure off.
for sure.
But I think where a lot of us get tripped up is those mental barriers,
Yeah.
the self-doubt, the lack of motivation.
Right.
Like, how do you push past that?
Well, one thing that really stuck with me was this idea that motivation often follows action.
Oh, interesting.
So you don't have to wait for like that perfect moment of inspiration.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just got to lace up those shoes. Exactly. Even
Yeah.
if it's just for a short walk. You'd be surprised how taking that first step can actually trigger the motivation to keep going.
So instead of, I don't feel like it,
Yeah.
it's more like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Exactly.
I like that.
And another thing to remember.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
Right.
That's the goal. One article had this really cool story about a person who lost a lot of weight
Mm-hmm.
just by making those consistent, healthy choices over time.
Wow.
It wasn't about some crazy diet or those grueling workouts.
Like small changes.
Small, sustainable changes every single day.
Okay, so we've talked about how consistency is key for both the physical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
like those adaptations,
Absolutely.
and for habit building.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
One of the sources we looked at, they suggested this thing called the SMART goal setting framework.
Oh, yeah. SMART goals. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But I've never really applied it to, like, my workouts.
It's super helpful.
Okay.
So instead of saying, I want to get in shape,
Yeah.
which is pretty vague,
Very vague.
you could say, okay, I want to complete 3 30-minute workouts per week for the next month.
Okay.
That's specific, measurable, achievable,
Right. All the things.
relevant, and it has a time frame.
Like a deadline.
Yeah. So you're basically breaking down this big, intimidating goal
Right.
into these smaller, manageable steps.
I like that.
Yeah.
And then you could break it down even further, right?
Exactly.
Like just focus on getting that first workout done.
Absolutely. And, don't underestimate the power of setting up your environment for success.
Okay.
Little things like putting your workout clothes out the night before.
Oh, yeah.
Or even finding a workout buddy to keep you accountable.
It's like you're removing those obstacles
Exactly.
before they even come up.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for success.
I like that.
So we've got the mindset shift,
Okay.
the goal setting, and even some ways to tweak your environment.
What else can we do to really, like, nail this consistency thing?
Well, so far we've really focused on the physical and the mental aspects of consistency.
Right.
But in part 2, I think it'd be really cool to dive into some practical strategies
Okay.
for actually maintaining that consistency over time.
Like what?
Things like tracking your progress,
Mhm.
making adjustments when you need to,
Okay.
and even building in some flexibility.
Yeah, because life happens.
Exactly. Life happens.
So you got to be able to roll with it
Absolutely.
and still stay on track.
And that's what we'll get into in part 2.
Awesome. Can't wait.
I'm excited.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
See you then.
See ya. Welcome back. So last time we were talking about how consistent effort, it really trumps those sporadic bursts of intensity.
Right. Like it's more about building that solid foundation.
Exactly.
But a foundation isn't enough, right? You got to keep building on it.
That's a great analogy. And that's where tracking your progress comes in.
Okay.
It's not just about accountability, it's actually super motivating. Because seeing those small wins along the way, that can really keep you going.
So you're not just talking about like the number on the scale.
Not at all. It could be anything,
Yeah.
like how much weight you're lifting,
Yeah.
how many reps you can do, how far you can run, or even just how much better you sleep
Right.
after you've been working out consistently. Those non-scale victories, those are huge.
So it's more about recognizing the positive changes
Yeah,
and using that to stay motivated.
exactly. It's funny, one of the articles we read, it talked about this study
Okay.
where they found that people who exercise consistently, they were way more likely to hit their weekly goals,
Mm-hmm.
even if they didn't nail every single workout.
Interesting.
It's really about the overall pattern.
Yeah. And that takes the pressure off, right?
Absolutely.
You don't have to be perfect.
Exactly, you don't.
But what about those times when you hit a plateau?
Ah.
It's like you're doing everything right, but you're just not seeing any progress.
Plateaus are totally normal.
Okay, good.
And there are definitely ways to break through them.
Like what?
Well, one of the simplest things you can do is just switch things up.
Okay.
If you've been doing the same workout routine for weeks or even months,
Yeah.
chances are your body has adapted to it.
So our bodies kind of get used to the routine.
Exactly. They do. They're like, okay, we've got this figured out.
There, yeah.
But when you change things up, like trying new exercises, increasing the weight, or maybe incorporating some interval training,
Right.
you're basically challenging your body in new ways.
Gotcha.
And that can spark those adaptations again.
It's like giving your body a wake-up call.
Exactly. You're like, hey, we're not done yet.
Now, we touched on this earlier,
Yeah.
but I think it's worth diving into a little deeper.
Okay.
Periodization.
Yeah.
What exactly is it?
So periodization is a fancy word for a really smart way to structure your training.
Okay.
Basically, you divide your training into different phases,
Okay.
each with a specific focus.
Oh, interesting.
So, for example, you might have a month where you're really focused on building strength,
Mm-hmm.
followed by a month where you're emphasizing endurance,
Okay.
and then maybe a recovery phase where you're doing lighter activity.
So it's like having a structured plan.
Exactly. And it keeps your body guessing.
Keeps things interesting.
Yeah, it prevents those plateaus we were just talking about.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And it probably helps prevent burnout too, right?
Absolutely. And it can really lower your risk of injuries.
Which is key for staying consistent.
Exactly. And the cool thing about periodization
Yeah.
is that it can be tailored to any fitness goal.
Oh, okay.
So if you're training for a marathon, your plan would look totally different
Right.
than someone who's mainly focused on building muscle.
So give me an example. How would those plans differ?
Okay, so for marathon training, you might have phases dedicated to building mileage,
Yeah.
speed work and then tapering down before the race.
Mm,
Whereas for muscle building, you might cycle through phases of heavier lifting, moderate weights with higher reps, and then lighter weights,
got it.
with a focus on technique and recovery.
So it's like you're constantly challenging your body in different ways.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it keeps things from getting stale.
Now, we all know life doesn't always go according to plan.
That's for sure.
So how do you stay consistent when those unexpected things pop up?
That's where flexibility comes in.
Okay.
You know, they say the only constant is change.
Right.
And that applies to our fitness routines, too.
So true.
The key is to have some backup plans.
Okay.
So if you can't make it to the gym, maybe you have a quick home workout you can do.
Right.
Or if you're traveling, you know, find ways to move your body.
Yeah.
Even if it's just exploring a new city on foot.
Like getting those steps in.
Exactly. It's all about adapting.
Instead of just giving up.
Yeah, don't throw in the towel just because one thing goes off track.
Right. It's about progress over perfection.
Absolutely. And, you know, having a support system can be so helpful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like telling a friend or family member about your goals, or even joining an online community.
Okay.
It can really give you that extra boost of motivation.
And accountability.
Exactly. It's like having a cheering squad.
I love that.
And don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Right.
Like if you're struggling, just say it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm having a tough time staying on track. Can you help me out?
You know, that reminds me of something else I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
This whole all or nothing mentality.
Oh, yeah. That can be a killer.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
Like you miss a couple of workouts and you're just like, well, I've already messed up. Might as well give up completely.
You're like, I'm off the wagon. It's like that one piece of chocolate cake turns into the whole cake. Exactly. But it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. Instead of seeing those slip-ups as failures,
Yeah.
try to view them as opportunities to learn and adjust.
Okay.
Maybe you need to tweak your schedule a little bit, or find a different workout buddy, or maybe even reassess your goals altogether.
So it's like course correction, not self-sabotage.
Exactly.
Okay, now there's one more piece of the consistency puzzle I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Rest and recovery.
Oh, so important.
I think this is where I struggle the most.
Really?
I get so focused on pushing myself, I forget to give my body a break.
I get it. It's easy to think that more is always better.
Right.
But when it comes to fitness, rest is just as important as the workout itself.
I know.
Those rest days, they let your muscles repair.
Okay.
They help prevent burnout, and they can actually reduce your risk of injuries.
So it's not about being lazy. It's about being strategic.
Exactly. You're being smart about your training.
I like that.
And there are different types of rest to consider.
Like what?
Well, there's active recovery,
Okay.
which could be something like yoga or walking,
Right?
which can actually help your body recover by promoting blood flow and reducing muscle soreness. And then, of course, there's sleep.
Oh, the holy grail of recovery.
It's so essential. It's when our bodies and minds really get a chance to recharge.
It's the foundation of everything.
It is, but it's also often the first thing to go when we're busy or stressed.
Yeah, so true.
But if you're serious about consistency, you got to prioritize sleep.
Okay.
Aim for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep every night.
I'll try.
It makes a huge difference in everything.
Okay, so we've talked about tracking progress, adjusting our plans when we need to,
Yeah,
building a support system,
absolutely.
embracing flexibility, and prioritizing rest.
It's all connected.
Is there anything else we're missing when it comes to this consistency puzzle?
Well, we haven't really talked about nutrition,
Ooh, good point.
which plays a huge role in how you perform, recover, and even how motivated you feel.
And how you deal with those cravings.
Exactly.
So maybe in part 3 we can dive into that.
Yeah, that would be great.
The importance of nutritional consistency.
Yeah, and how to make healthy eating a sustainable part of your life.
Yes, because those post-workout cravings are real.
They are.
So we need all the help we can get.
We'll give you all the tips and tricks in part 3.
Sounds good. See you there.
See you then.
We're back. Ready for the final piece of our consistency puzzle?
I think this one's going to resonate with a lot of people.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about the workouts.
Yes.
We've talked about mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't really gotten into the fuel that powers it all.
That's right, nutrition.
And let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
Those post-workout cravings
They're no joke.
can be intense.
Yeah.
So how do we make healthy eating as consistent as our exercise routines?
It's a great question. And, it's something I used to really struggle with. Like,
Really?
I'd nail my workouts, but then my nutrition would be all over the place.
Yeah, I feel that.
But one thing that really shifted my perspective from those articles was realizing that nutritional consistency isn't about being restrictive
Oh,
or
no.
depriving yourself. It's really about finding a way of eating that nourishes you, supports your workouts,
Right.
and most importantly, it's something you can actually stick with long term.
So it's more about finding what works for you,
Exactly. It's about creating a sustainable lifestyle.
not just a temporary diet.
Exactly.
So it's like, if you're making healthy choices most of the time,
Yeah.
you have some wiggle room for those treats.
Exactly. Like the 80-20 rule. Have you heard of that?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you're consistent with those good choices 80% of the time.
You can enjoy yourself the other 20%.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about balance.
Okay, that makes me feel better way already.
Good, good.
But how do we even define healthy choices?
Right, because there's so much information out there.
It could be overwhelming.
It really can. One of the things that these articles emphasized was focusing on whole, unprocessed foods.
Okay,
Things like fruits and vegetables, lean protein,
got it.
whole grains.
Yeah.
These are the foods that give your body the nutrients it needs.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Exactly. Now, that doesn't mean you have to say goodbye to your favorite foods forever.
Right, we're not banning pizza.
No, not at all. But it's about shifting your mindset from diet to lifestyle.
Okay, I like that.
Make those nutrient-rich foods the foundation of what you eat,
Yeah,
and then you have some room to enjoy those treats in moderation.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about people who follow specific diets,
Yeah.
like keto or veganism?
Absolutely. If you've chosen a specific approach, consistency is key for seeing those results.
So whether it's a broad approach to healthy eating
Mm-hmm.
or a more structured plan,
Yeah.
it's all about consistency.
It really is. One thing that helped me a ton with my own nutrition
What's that?
was meal prepping.
Oh, tell me more about that.
I started setting aside some time on the weekend
Okay.
to plan out my meals for the week and even cook some things in advance.
Oh, wow. So you have it all ready to go.
Yeah, it made healthy eating so much easier.
It's like removing that decision fatigue.
Exactly. When you already have those healthy meals prepped,
Yeah. You're less likely to reach for that takeout menu.
that's a great tip. And you don't have to go all out.
Right.
Start small. Maybe just prep your lunches.
Exactly. Or chop up some veggies for snacks.
Little things make a big difference.
Absolutely. Now, we've covered workouts, nutrition,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the mental side of fitness?
Yeah, because that plays a huge role too.
One of the articles talked about the importance of having a positive relationship with your body,
Okay.
which can be tough these days.
Right, with all the images we see.
It's easy to get caught up in comparisons, self-criticism.
And that can really sabotage our efforts.
For sure, if you're constantly putting yourself down,
Yeah.
it's hard to stay motivated.
So how do we cultivate a more positive body image?
One of the suggestions was to practice body gratitude.
Okay, what's that?
So instead of focusing on what you don't like,
Mm-hmm.
shift your attention to what you appreciate about your body.
Like what?
Maybe you're grateful for your strong legs that let you go for a run.
Your flexible spine that lets you dance. Your heart that keeps beating.
So it's about appreciating what your body can do
Exactly. Focusing on the function, not just the form.
and remembering that your body is your ally.
Yes, it's working hard for you every day.
We got to treat it with respect.
Absolutely. And it's so important to remember that your worth isn't tied to your appearance or
Right.
your fitness level.
Yeah.
You are worthy just as you are.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into consistency,
Yeah.
what are the key things you want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest one is that consistency isn't about being perfect.
It's a journey.
It is. It's about showing up for yourself, making those healthy choices
Most of the time.
most of the time, and being flexible when you need to be.
Progress over perfection.
Exactly. Patience over pressure.
And self-love over self-criticism.
Yes. It's about the long game.
I love that those small, consistent choices we make
Yeah.
day after day.
They add up over time.
And ultimately, they create the life we want to live.
That's the power of consistency.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been fun.
We hope you learned a lot,
And we hope you feel inspired to make consistency your secret weapon,
not just for fitness.
but for life.
Thanks for listening.